Hello, world. It is Monday, September 21st, and it's a gorgeous morning in Defiance. Cool this morning. I went running. It was 41 degrees, a bit chilly. Not quite used to that. Probably because less than a month ago it was like straight 90-degree days and 70-degree nights. Weather changes quickly, it seems like, here in the Midwest. Today's devotion is entitled Longing for Cucumbers, and it's written by Talitha Arnold. And Talitha bases the devotion upon Numbers chapter 11, verse 5 from the New Revised Standard Version. We remember the fish we had in Egypt, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic. And yes, I double checked. That is actually the verse from the Bible. And Talitha writes, there are lots of foods I like. Lemon meringue pie, enchiladas, blueberry muffins, even some I crave, chocolate in any form. But cucumbers, leeks, and onions? Hardly. 2 years after the Exodus, such vegetables were much on the minds of the Israelites. Stirred up by the rabble among them, they cried out for cucumbers. It's a strange request. Unlike previous complaints, the Israelites faced no imminent threat, whether from Pharaoh's army, starvation, or thirst. Egypt was years behind them. God was providing their daily manna. But before dismissing the Israelites' longing for cucumbers as mere whining, may we hear what it truly is, a longing for home, or at least a taste of home. It didn't matter that God's manna was sweet and abundant, or that cucumbers came from slave times. 2 years into the Exodus, Egyptian vegetables reminded the Israelites of the only home they'd ever known. They simply wanted things to be the way they used to be, even if it meant going back to Egypt. If that wasn't possible, then they wanted some stability in that endless wilderness. To grow cucumbers or leeks or garlic, you have to quit wandering in the desert and settle down. The Israelites' longing for cucumbers was really the longing for home, whether back in Egypt or in a strange new world. I think it's our longing also in our strange and fearsome time. And the prayer. In the wilderness, O Lord, your people learned that their real home wasn't in a particular place or well-tended garden. It was in your heart. Help us to find our home there too. Amen. Well, a couple things struck me as I read this devotion. One was, for me in particular, how memories are tied to food. Because I remember how when we lived in Germany, it was hard to find certain things that we took for granted here in the United States, peanut butter being one of them. It's pretty tough to find. There was a shop that sold American food, but it was very expensive to buy. Cheddar cheese was another one. I love cheddar cheese, and for some reason cheddar cheese was really hard to come by in Germany. So I was longing for the things that I couldn't get. And then when I moved back to the United States, the same thing happened with some German foods. There are certain German foods that I really came to love, and they were hard to come by here in the United States. And I've tried to recreate them, but it's not quite the same thing. The other thing that struck me about this as well is the desire for fresh fruits and vegetables among the wandering Israelites. Manna was good, but it was the same old every day. That had to get tiring. But it also reminded me of how often so many people who live in large cities, in the inner city, live in what's called a food desert, in that there aren't often very many grocery stores within the city limits, and what they're left with are mom and pop type shops, which tend to have a lot of processed food and pre-prepared food, not fresh fruits and vegetables. Not that they're longing for that, but they don't even know what they're missing because they've never had it. We ran into a case once in our food pantry in our church in Michigan, in which a local food farm stand had an overabundance of different varieties of squash, winter squash. They were beautiful squash, and they gave them to the pantry, and no one would take them because I think they either didn't know how to cook them, how to prepare them, because it wasn't in a package, that they could stick in the microwave. Or in some cases, someone told me, oftentimes people who are impoverished have their gas shut off or their electricity shut off. So preparing a meal, especially fresh vegetables or storing fruit, is hard for them to do. But this devotion also made me think of this time in the pandemic and how much we're longing for things that we can't have. Being together with friends and going out to places and conversing with people, holding hands, shaking hands, hugging people, greeting people in that way. It's hard. I don't know that life will ever go back to the way it was. I think there will be a new normal. But some of the things that we were missing will be coming back. Just as with the Israelites, some of the things they were missing, they were able to get to eventually when they got to the promised land and were able to establish themselves. So hang in there. Look for the things you can do. Do what you can with what you have. And try to make the best of each day and look forward to the future. So, hope you have a good day. If you get a chance to get outside today, it's supposed to be gorgeous in the low to mid 70s. And enjoy this September morning.